Another price cap increase, and you can't get solar? This video might help you out. So one of the questions I've been asked most since doing all of this stuff with solar and batteries, etc., is can I still get a system if I can't get solar panels, or if I don't have the right setup to actually put solar panels in to actually make it worthwhile? Well, in this video I'm going to cover that question as closely as I can by looking back to what I got in my worst month over the winter and show you when solar doesn't show up, even if you have got a large amount of solar panels, you can still run a system. But again, it's all based on setup costs, what you can export, and obviously the big one is how much battery storage you have. So I'm going to try and address that question from a different angle, but there might be something in this video that proves useful for you. So my most expensive month, or my highest bill since going full electrification back in August 2025, was December 2025. And if you want to catch up on anything to do with my electrification journey, it covers the solar and battery system, air conditioning for heating and cooling, and also the heat pump water cylinder. That playlist is currently being suggested up in the top corner right now. So I'm going to move over just to a solar assistant grab that I've got in terms of sort of energy usage. I think this is probably the easiest way to look at it over sort of winter and the more recent months. So as you can see, December was the highest in load perspective, so it was 574 kilowatt hours used. That's obviously measured from the main SunSync 16 kilowatt inverters perspective. Solar PV was very, very low in December. It was a very rainy month, or very rainy winter full stop. So I was very much disappointed with the amount that did come in. I thought it might be more than that. So that's probably my most disappointing month, as you can probably see from the metrics that are on there. The other thing that I noticed a big deal on was obviously the amount of import, and that's under the grid used column now. 1031 kilowatt hours, so just over a megawatt hour of imported energy, and I only managed to get out or export 474 kilowatt hours worth. But I'm going to sort of try and cover off the fact that if you don't have solar, or solar was terrible like it was in December, and obviously December and the winter are generally high usage months, how you can actually use larger battery storage even if you don't have a solar panel set up or any kind of solar, to try and offset what's happening with energy prices. But again, it's playing the tariff game and finding what tariff works best for you. And obviously if you've got an EV, that makes it great for importing at very low rates, but obviously that also affects what you can export if you're with the same energy provider as well. But I'm going to cover that later on in the video. I just wanted to give you an idea of perspective of generally why I'm going to be looking at December, to give you an idea of, you know, there's not really enough solar coming in, even with my fairly large array at 12.88 kilowatt peak. It just doesn't cut it from my east-west during the winter months, and especially when it was raining so much over the winter period. So I'm going to just go over and cover my December bill now. So I'm just going to find that. Okay, so what I've got on screen at the moment is really just the overall breakdown in costs. So as you can see, electricity, that's the import on the top. Obviously what they charge me, what Octopus charged me, was £186.16. Gas, which I'm also going to give you a quick breakdown of what makes up the final bill for December. Obviously I said goodbye to gas in February 26, and obviously what I've exported, so largely that was a result of not exporting solar power but importing at my cheap rate between 2 and 5 a.m, and then whatever I didn't use was then exported between the peak hours of between 4 and 7 p.m. every day, and that totaled £136.61. So I'm just going to cover the overall bill cost now in terms of that. So as you can see, the total charges for the bill, so this was my highest bill since electrification in August 25, was £61.87. So I'm just going to cover off the element of the gas now. So gas in itself, just going to call that up now. So I've got my gas breakdown part of my bill just to cover off what was involved in that. So yeah, that should be on screen now. So as you can see, my gas consumption was tiny, which again is down purely to the fact that I still had a gas oven. I didn't use the hob, I just used the oven because I had like a portable induction hobs, or hobs multiple hobs that I used, so that I didn't need to use the gas hob element. It's purely from the grill and the oven's perspective. But as you can see, in energy used equivalent value, I only used 35.2 kilowatt hours, which amounted to, on here anyway, before the 5% VAT, was £2.13. And as you can see, the standing charge, which is another bonus of if you do go the full electrification route, is you can say goodbye to that as well. So yeah, the 31 days, £9.60 obviously, plus the 5% on top of that, that's a good saving every year for me straight off the bat, because I don't physically have a gas meter anymore. But as you can see, the overall gas charges on that were £12.32. So as it boils down as an overall then, so the overall bill was £61.87. Obviously taking the gas off, because again, that was purely just for the gas oven, of £12.32. That left me with just £49.55 through my electricity side of things. So what I'm going to do now is, now I've just covered those particular pieces off, I'm just going to go through the process of showing you how I work the system and what the change to my battery capacity actually meant, where I went from 30 kilowatt hours raw to 64 kilowatt hours, my new larger battery sets, in terms of changing the amount that I wasn't spending, or offsetting, so that my daily usage actually drops. So I'm just going to get the other graphs up now and go through that. So time to go through some of the typical graphs that I share, and some of you eagle-eyed people out there have probably noticed that some of the figures don't match up with what Solar Assistant has reported, or what I've already shown you. We'll go with these figures because these are what Octopus recognise and charge. So there's sometimes a little bit of variance where I've taken down the little orange pie to do work on or do upgrades, or sometimes it's lost connectivity where I've been messing about. But I think one of the reasons this one did was because I had the battery storage upgraded, and the orange pie wasn't connected for a number of hours. And then I had a few problems with getting it working again post install of the new batteries. So that's why there'll be a little bit of a discrepancy in these figures that you see. But again, the figures that are recorded by Octopus obviously is what I get paid for import and obviously for export. So we'll stick with those on this particular one. So first up on the list is the import. So as you can see from the imports, it was 1,050 kilowatt hours. So yes, nudging into the megawatt hours, as I've already mentioned, and that's the import. So from the export perspective as well, that equates to 472, almost 473 kilowatt hours. So under half a megawatt hour of export. So one thing you will notice on here as well is the change in profile. And I will cover the cost shortly on this as well. You'll notice the change in profile. Now this is actually when the batteries were installed. So the batteries, the new 64 kilowatt hours worth, were installed on the 12th of December. So as you can see on here, and it's evident on both charts. So from an import perspective, as you can see, I was always limited with the amount that I could import up till the 12th. So you see that step change, not quite half the way through both of the graphs in terms of what I could actually import, because I didn't have that base capacity to arbitrage, if you like, or trade energy as much, because I didn't have enough left. I had to use obviously a fair amount more during the day for heating, cooling, and well, not cooling but heating, and also for the heat pump water cylinder, which didn't take much at all really. But again, it still ate into what I could actually export at the end of the day. So if we look at the export chart as well, you'll see up to the 12th, there's very little that's going out. And there's a period of 4 days there as well where I couldn't export anything, because I think from memory the solar was bad. But I've got a chart that I'll pull up later, just showing solar, and yeah, it was generally a very poor month. But in terms of the costs, I think I'll move over to there. You can see the step change in that. So we'll go over to the cost charts now. I'll just show you those to just show you what we've got on there. So let's start off with the cost for the import. So the import costs, obviously that matches up what they've already mentioned in the bill section, is £186. It's got 18 on there, but I think it was 16 if my memory serves me correctly. Again, there's a slight rounding in the way this rounds up within this particular web app that they use. As you can see, in cost terms, it was pretty limited up until I got the bigger batteries, but then it was sort of unleashed, so I could use more of that capacity that was available. And if we look over on the export chart now, and where's that gone? Export chart. Oh, there's the export chart. So in terms of export, you'll see that again there's that other step change in there as well. So I know it's £136.61 overall, but you see that in value terms it goes up significantly after the 12th. I'm not going to really include the 12th because the batteries, when they were connected, I think from memory they were fully charged, so I already had enough capacity in there to do almost a full export, not quite a full export in the evening, but during the evening period it wasn't far off. So yeah, that's probably not really the best reading, but again it's that's the swap over day. So as you can see, from that point onwards I had a lot more to play with in terms of for the rest of the month. And in that regard, I did a little calculation on this just to see how much that you would kind of get back from this. And what I found was that from the period from the 11th until the sort of 12th, I was going to say the 11th till the 12th, sorry, the 1st till the 11th of December, costs amounted to £38.48. And then between the period of the 12th to the 31st of December, with the new batteries installed, my costs, obviously because there's some positive and negative days in there, which I'll put a chart up very shortly, were only £11.09. So yeah, that step change and that extra capacity actually opened up the ability to import more and export more to do that offset. So if I think, from memory, it was about 16.3p I think for imports, and it remains at 29p for the peak export between 4 and 7 every evening. So almost making, I think, was that quick calculation, about 12, is that about 12p, 12 and a bit pence per kilowatt hour for every kilowatt hour I put out. And again, the maximum I can do at that period during 4 till 7 every evening is 26.1 kilowatt hours at 29p a kilowatt hour, so around £7.56 if I can meet that, because that's the period I always plan for every evening. So I'm just going to put up the price comparison chart as it is now, that I just basically just pulled together, just to show you, how that all changed. And again, there are so many variants and factors involved in here. Some of the better solar days that were during the month were obviously colder days, meaning I had to run the air conditioning more for the heating side of it. So even though I may have got more solar input, obviously there would be more load used at that, meaning there was less to export in the evening. So here's the chart that I just pulled together, and this shows you obviously that the split line there is obviously the break-even point. So this includes imports, so everything I've imported, including standing charge, so that's total daily cost for the whole of December. And as you can see, the first half, well, up till the 12th of December, the costs are obviously there because solar wasn't very good at all, and obviously my usage within the house was a lot higher. But then you can see this bit where I've got the new batteries installed. I've even got some minus days in there as well, as in revenue generating days, not much, but being able to import that amount of electricity, and then obviously try and get rid of most of it during that evening period to offset those costs. So that was an interesting exercise doing that, because I hadn't realised how much of a difference getting that extra capacity had actually made. So that's where that difference between what I've just mentioned, the £38.48 in costs up to, 1st to 11th of December, and then between the 12th and the 31st of December, only £11.09 in total costs as well for electricity arbitraging or trading that energy. So that's what I wanted to show on that. And quickly, while I'm on this as well, I just put up the daily PV charts. As you can see, it was all over the place. There were some pretty poor days in there, bearing in mind the size of the array, even though it's south facing, is best to have during the winter period, due to the fact the sun is so low. You'll see some days, I think, was it the 18th of December, it didn't even break a kilowatt hour. So yeah, very poor, largely due to weather conditions. Again, this is when you come down to use any kind of prediction apps, you can't take into account for poor weather that moves in and stays there, like we had, and the exceptionally wet winter that we had. So that's all I was going to cover on that particular point. So that's pretty much the in and the out, really. So in answer to the question, it all depends. So there are a number of factors which I'm just going to list out in summary that need to really be considered if you are looking at just going for an inverter and maybe just a battery setup to try and buffer yourself from the, should we say, the ever increasing and volatile energy markets as they stand in the UK at the moment. So the first thing on the list is electrification. So what parts of your home have you got on electric, for example? So do you have heating and hot water supplied by electricity or not? That's a biggie, because again, that would change the profile and the size of potentially battery, and also the inverter that you may be thinking of getting. The other side of that as well is also EV. So that really makes a big play on tariff selection, which is another one on my list. If you're planning on buffering like I did, the costs involved, as in importing as much as you can at the cheaper rate on the tariffs that are available to you, and then exporting later on to try and either bring the overall cost profile down, or actually on some days actually make money, as in go into revenue instead of cost on those specific days. The next thing is down to sort of the equipment of the system. So obviously the size of the battery is vitally important, as I've already shown in this video, and also the inverter it's attached to, because I went for whole of house, but again, if you're just going to do it so that it covers most of what your power needs would be under normal circumstances, obviously you'd still be using a little bit off the grid as well. The other really important thing on all of this, which is obviously hinging on the payback of what you're going to get if you arbitrage or trade your energy, is obviously the export limit. So however long your export limit works against your tariff is how much you can get out of the door. So obviously the better the larger the inverter and the larger the agreed export limit gives you that flexibility that you need to obviously make back some of the money that you spent out on the import side of it, because obviously you won't have solar to fall back on if you're just going for a battery and inverter kind of setup. And the last but not least, even though you would normally consider this with solar, is weather. During the winter specifically, and anytime you plan a system, always plan and build it, design it for winter. That's obviously the most important time of year, regardless of whether you've got solar or massive battery banks or not. It's always planning for that, because any time out of that, spring, summer and autumn are not really considerations if you do have solar. But in terms of heating, obviously weather will affect how much, and there were obviously a few days or a number of days over the winter period where I had to use quite a bit more energy on the air conditioning to make sure that I kept the house warm. So I think they're sort of like the key points I just wanted to raise in terms of could you do a system like that. But again, it comes down to just considered design and making sure you've pretty much covered the base, but again, planned for winter, because that's always going to be the time, as well as if you do have an EV as well, because that makes all your imports exceptionally cheap. And maybe just changing over tariff later on in the year if you've got that. But as I understand it, tariff changing now to get the better rates is actually a lot more difficult. So this price cap this time around is going to make life a little bit more difficult for all involved, including myself, because I need to calculate how I'm going to do that for winter now myself, because there's now an EV in the household as well. So that changes from where I was back from my bill in December last year. So I think that's probably all I'm going to cover on this. Again, sorry, it's another long video, but if you do have any comments, questions, or you want to know more, just put something in the section below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you soon.